I had a love affair with Premiere Pro. It was my first editing software. We spent 3 years together and edited countless projects, including for YouTube. Had some arguments once in a while, but we worked through it. But slowly, things started falling apart. It just wouldn't tell me what was the problem. Till one day, I had a 30 minutes timeline and it just wouldn't export. And after a couple of days, the only solution was to take that timeline there. Yeah, man rig. And let's leave all this drama aside, that's my story. Maybe yours is a little bit different. But if you're here, I think you're probably considering migrating. And in this video, I'm gonna show you many details of the daily life of editing with both softwares, the small things that you might not have seen yet that are gonna save you so much time in the long run, and also that some things that you might expect to be difficult to adapt to are not that big of a mystery. So the first category here is the overall speed and the flow of editing. So let me show you the two softwares side by side so that you can have a very good idea of what I'm talking about. It starts when importing the files and having the thumbnails generated so that you can scrub through in the bin and also on the timeline. In DaVinci, when you throw them on the timeline, you can already see a long version of what's the whole clip about, so that you can skip directly to where you want. Scrubbing is a breeze in the bin and also in the timeline, but if you have some difficult effects to render, you can choose for it to do it when the computer is just idle, when you're not touching the software or you're just checking something else but not editing properly. Keyframing is something that on Premiere, I always thought that there had to be any kind of better way of doing it. And DaVinci applies more or less the same technique, in which you can see the lines and the dots, which are the keyframes for any given parameter across time. But also, if you see on the clip, you can expand here, and you can see it also in a 2D display, all the lines and all the parameters at the same time. So at a given moment, you can have an idea if there's something else changing and how just by looking at it. And if you move files around, you just need to locate the main folder and it's gonna work through the rest of the subfolders to find everything you need. Cutting, trimming and positioning clips in the timeline are gonna be similar to other softwares you've used before, like Premiere for example. But of course there are gonna be some different shortcuts for the way that DaVinci works, but you can even choose the shortcuts to be exactly the same as the ones you used in Premiere Pro before if you'd like it. The second category is the most obvious one to talk about, which is the price. But we have to pay a little bit of attention here because we're not comparing exactly apples to apples. As you probably know, Adobe is in a subscription mode in which you pay roughly $265 per year, which is more or less $22 per month. Now DaVinci has a free version that might just be enough for a lot of people out there. Very soon I'm gonna make a video comparison between the free and the studio version that you're gonna be able to watch over here if it's ready. If it's not, you won't see anything. But anyways, for me at least the studio version was worth it mainly because of two reasons. The first one is to be able to have GPU support, which the free version doesn't have, making everything quite faster, especially the visual effects, and the support to 10-bit footage. If that's not your case, the free version just might be enough. By the way, the studio version comes at about $300, one payment only. So Adobe feels lighter at the start, but after 1 year, they're matched already. And with DaVinci, you're gonna continue having updates without having to pay anything extra. Now there's one way to make it relatively cheaper, and relatively because you're gonna actually spend more, but you get more value out of it. And this is by purchasing some of the hardware that Blackmagic produces. If you get, for example, this keyboard for editing, which costs about $400, you get a license for DaVinci Studio also. So in the end, the keyboard comes for $100. And even better if you get, for example, a camera like the Pocket 4K that comes for about $1,200. So in the end, you're gonna pay $900 for it. It's a pretty good deal for a camera that shoots even RAW. Now, and this is very important, still, we're not comparing in a fair way just by comparing DaVinci Studio with Premiere Pro. And this is because DaVinci Studio, or even the free version, actually comes with many softwares built in the same software. So actually you could count DaVinci Studio as being Premiere Pro, After Effects, Media Encoder, and Audition all in one. But in this case, if you were to get a subscription for Premiere, After Effects and Audition, you would pay roughly $69 per month. in which case it's even better for you to get the complete Creative Cloud plan, which comes for about $59. And then you get access also to all the photo softwares like Lightroom, Photoshop, Adobe Firefly. So now you see how it's not that simple. Let's say you have a talking head video, just like this one, and all you want to do is put some text in the background, control the audio, color grade it, and export. Let's start with the audio. On Premiere, you would right click and just go to Audition to apply any kind of effect you'd like. And this would be built inside the WAV file and transported back to Premiere. Now these changes have been applied already and you cannot tune them anymore. For anything you want to do, you're gonna have to go back to Audition and then just do everything from start. While in DaVinci, this means just a trip to the Fairlight page where you can apply effects to the audio itself or to the track. It's perfectly customizable and you get some of the controls right from the edit page just here in the inspector. Regarding the text in the back, you're gonna have to make a trip to After Effects and rotoscope the person talking so that you can detach it from the background. Now in this case you're going to be using the dynamic linking, meaning that you can always tune it on After Effects and the changes will be mirrored inside Premiere. Now my experience with it was that many times Premiere just wouldn't manage to render these dynamic links at all. So I've lost count how many times I simply exported this bit of video in After Effects and imported as a video file inside Premiere. Now in DaVinci that would mean a trip to the Fusion or to the color pages. They kinda share some of the features and you can choose where you prefer to use them. And all you need to do is make a line over the person and track it. Super fast, super easy. Now, is DaVinci Resolve crash-proof? Not at all, but the percentage of times that it happens compared to Premiere Pro is just astonishingly different. And most of the times with me, it happened when I applied many effects on top of each other and didn't wait for the software to render that part to try to play it. In the meantime, I even posted a video that you can see over here on how to kinda hack Premiere Pro on rendering the timeline before exporting and using these rendered files so that your exports wouldn't fail in the middle without exactly telling you what was the problem that you had to solve. The thing is, I don't get anymore the sudden crashes while editing, I don't get the alerts of running out of VRAM anymore, but mainly I don't have anymore the failed renders with an error saying that there's some kind of problem in minute X, and when I get there, there's absolutely nothing. The color page. Now being realistic, Premiere Pro applies the color to the clips in a very similar way it does with other softwares, like Lightroom for example. So you simply have this cascade of effects on top of each other that you just go one by one until you have the clip looking the way you want it. It's simple and it kinda works. Now Premiere stops there, and here is from where DaVinci picks up and it makes you realize how many things you're missing by not having all these features that I'm gonna show you. In the color page here, you've got noise reduction, you got embedded raw controls, you got the color checker, you've got primaries but also log wheels, you got sharpening tools, you got curves with the waveforms below for reference, you can pre-visualize LUTs or power grades, which is kinda like a Lightroom preset for videos. You have support to countless brands and picture profiles embedded in the software. You can color grade clips or the timeline, so you don't need to play around with adjustment layers anymore. And finally, the node structure, in which you can be as organized as you like, putting maybe one effect per node so that you can know exactly where everything is. In Premiere, you can stack Lumetri effects and you can rename them to make it a little bit easier to find, but still, you have to expand each one of them to see what you want to do, while in DaVinci, you just click the node and all the controls are already here. And as I said before, there's this gray area between Fusion, the After Effects on DaVinci, and the color page. So from here also, you can access all these effects. The depth map, so that you can control the background and the foreground. The magic mask for that rotoscoping. You can relight a scene. Look at this, it's crazy. You can do sky replacements so that you don't have to mask everything. You can use the face refinement, which is kind of like Photoshop for video. You can change the light on the skin, the texture, how the eyes appear. Another thing you can do here is tracking something across a whole scene. So let's take our model here for example. I'm just going to make a power window, which is kind of like a mask, and I'm gonna track her from beginning to the end, so that I can maybe apply a little bit of brightness. If I try to do the same thing on Premiere, this is what happens. Alright, so if you're still thinking about migrating, let me know in the comment section below if I touched any of the points that were worrying you before, or if there's any other doubt that I can talk about in future videos. And if you've done it already, how's the experience going? Alright guys, thanks a lot for watching, and now you can watch this video over here. Yeah, that's exactly what you're seeing. So I'll see you over there. See ya!